From this video, I will start another series of lecture on t-test. In the t-test, I will test hypotheses for different aspects that are related to t-test. In my earlier video, I have addressed all aspects relating to z-test. 8 videos are made on different aspects relating to z-test while they are testing a hypothesis. That links are also available in the description box. And in our large sample testing hypothesis, I was keep on making an assumption that if sample size sufficiently large, then test statistics follows normal distribution. We could go for z-test. But z-test has its own limitation that one should keep in their mind. While you are taking a sample from a large population, example, if your sample size is 1000, something like that, 1000 or 100, you want to meet 100 people, you want to meet 1000 people. So think about the cost, time, budget and whatever. So while you are testing using a large population, you should keep 2 points in your mind. One, cost of our study increases as sample sizes increases. And one more thing, very importantly, sometimes nature of the units in the population under study is such that they destroy the investigation, which means some of the population won't permit to take too many samples. In such a scenario, you have to deal with t-test. If there are limited resources in terms of money, then first point listed above forces not to go for a large sample size when items or units under study are very costly, such as if you are going for aeroplane, computer, etc. And second point, I told you some of the population won't permit for large population, which means large sample size, which gives an alarm for not to go for large sample. So by all these points I have told you just now, we need an alternative technique which is used to test the hypothesis based on small sample. And small sample tests do this job for us, which fulfills all the criticism of z-test. And in small sample tests, some of the commonly used testers are t-test, chi-square test, that is x-square chi-square test, and f-test also. In this lecture, I will address about t-test. In my further videos, I will also cover x-square and f-test also. And in t-test also, the steps to test the hypothesis remain same as we tested in z-test. And I have made a separate video for general procedure of testing hypothesis. Before this video, please watch that video so that you will be very familiar with the testing of hypothesis and the steps that are followed by you to test a hypothesis. One more thing you should keep in your mind that differentiate z-test to t-test. Z-test is used when population ST is known. But here very important thing you should keep in your mind, whether sample size is large or sample, we use z-test when the standard deviation of the population known. And t-test, we use t-test when the standard deviation of the population is unknown. Here one more thing, whether the population sample size is small or large, we use t-test when the population standard deviation is unknown. This is an exception for t-test. You may be confused with t-test because t-test used only for small sample test and z-test used for only large sample test. But here there is a exception. When the standard deviation is unknown, we have to use a t-test whether the standard population size is smaller or larger. When the standard deviation is known, population standard deviation, we have to use z-test whether the sample size is smaller or larger. So let us move further. Let us consider some of the assumption of t-test. As you know, without assumption, all parametric tests are nothing. You have to go through the assumption for every parametric test. So t-test is also not exceptional from this, and all the parametric tests must be normally distributed. It must be recognized by some of the distribution, then only you can apply parametric test. So here even for t-test also, the characteristics under study must follows the normal distribution, which means population must be normally distributed. In other words, population from which random sample is drawn should be normal with respect to the characteristics of that interest. Otherwise, we are unable to move with the t-test. And one more assumption of the t-test is that whatever the sample observation you make must be based on random and independent. The selection of sample must be random based, not on random base. You can go for probability methods for choosing sample, but there should not be any bias. You should not consider some part of the population. In your sample size, it must represent whole population. So that is why you have to go through random selection for your sample observation. And one more assumption attached to this t-test is population variance is unknown. If you want to calculate a t-test for the population variance must be unknown. And one more assumption attached to this t-test is, as you all know, this is a small sample size t-test, small sample test. So sample size must be less than 30. As I told you, when the standard deviation of population is unknown, you can go for t-test whether the sample size is smaller or larger. But in the most of the cases, this is a small sample test and sample size we consider under t-test is less than 30. Then let us have a problem for which we can give a solution under t-test. So problem is this: a manufacturer claims that, when we say claims, this is a population, a special type of projector bulb has an average life of 160 hours, which means this is a manufacturer's claims. So generally manufacturer says a special type of projector bulb has an average life of 160 hours. This is a population mu. Whereas an investigator takes a sample of 20 such bulbs, puts on test, and obtains an average life of 167 hours with standard deviation 16 hours. Manufacturer claiming that 160 hours, special type of bulb has an average life of 160 hours, but after investigating, it gives 167 hours with 16 hours standard deviation. So 167 hours is a sample mean, and this standard deviation is sample standard deviation, which can be indicated by S, standard deviation of sample. So here we have to assume that the lifetime of such bulbs follows normal distribution. We have to assume this lifetime of bulb follows a normal distribution. Here what we want to do is, does the investigator accept the manufacturer's claim at 5% level of significance? Manufacturer claiming something and investigator investigated and found something, but what we want to do now is, does the investigator accept the manufacturer's claim? We want to take a decision using testing a hypothesis under t-test. We have to take a decision regarding whether the investigator accepts the manufacturer's claim. So firstly, let us extract the information whatever given in the problem. As I told you, manufacturer claim is a population mu, and in this case sample size is 20, and sample mean is 167, and sample standard deviation is 16, and level of significance that we have to follow in this case is 5%. These are the given information that I have listed here. Mu is 160, and sample size is 20, and what x bar, that is a sample mean, is 167, and what we have, sample standard deviation, that is 16, and 5% alpha. Then let us formulate a hypothesis for this. Very importantly, here we want to test the manufacturer's claim that a special type of projector bulbs has an average life of 160 hours. So in this scenario, our claim would be mu is equal to 160. We have to test manufacturer's claim. So in the perspective of manufacturer, I am taking a claim. This is as mu is equal to 160. Since mu is equal to 160, its complement would be mu is not equal to 160. And here claim contains equality sign. I will take claim as null hypothesis, that mu is equal to 160, which can be stated as projector special type of projector bulb has an average life of 160 hours. So remaining complement would be alternative hypothesis that mu is not equal to 160, which means the special type of projector bulbs has not an average life of 160. So null hypothesis is mu is equal to 160, and alternative hypothesis is mu is not equal to 160. And here one more thing we should keep in your mind. Since alternative hypothesis contains equality sign, So this is a two-tailed test. When alternative hypothesis contain equality sign, we can take this as a two-tailed test. Otherwise, in the lesser than or greater than situation, it would be one-tailed test. If it is lesser than, it would be left-tailed test. If it is greater than, it would be right-tailed test. And very importantly, in this case, we don't know the population standard deviation. We know only sample standard deviation. And here we want to test the hypothesis regarding population mean. Population mean, our population mean is 160 hours when standard deviation unknown. And along with that, our sample size in this case is n is equal to 20, which is lesser than 30. And also we are assuming that the population under study follows a normal distribution. So we can go for t-test for testing a hypothesis about population mean at 5% level of significance. So we set up a null and alternative hypothesis. Also we obtained a level of significance. Now we want to choose an appropriate test. That also we choose it. That is a t-test. Now we want to test the statistics for this. The formula we use to test the t-test is this: x bar minus mu in the denominator sample standard deviation divided by within the root sample size. And we have extracted all the information that is relating to this formula. Here I have listed here mu is 160, this is mu, and n is 20, the root n is 20, and x bar is 167, and s, which is a sample standard deviation, is 16. In the right side I have replaced all the information to this formula. As I said you, x bar is 167 and mu is 160. Standard deviation, sample standard deviation is 16, and in the square in the root sample size is 20. I have replaced all the information that is in the formula. Now I will simplify this problem, like 167 minus 160, and take a root of this 20 and divide 20 by 16. You will obtain next step. So 167 minus 160 would be 7. And 16 remains same, and take a root of 20, it is 4.47. In the next step it will be 7, 16 by 4.47, which would be 3.58, and when you divide 7 by 3.58, our t-test, that is a tested statistics for t-test, is t1.96. Our tested statistics for the given information is 1.96. Now we have to obtain critical value of the test statistics t for various degree of freedom and different level of significance at that alpha. For that we have to follow the t table. So here in the next I will obtain t, that at degree of freedom we have to calculate degree of freedom. So I have made a separate to show you how it works, obtaining critical values for t table from t table. So here the critical value, that means a tabulated value, the table value you obtain from table of test statistics for two-tailed test corresponding degree of freedom. We will calculate degree of freedom in t-test n-1. So n-1 is equal to 19, which means n is 20. In this case number of sample size is 20. 20 minus 1 is 19. And our alpha in this case is, as we know, 5%, that is 0.05 alpha level of significance. And since it is a two-tailed test, we are taking plus or minus t and n-1, comma, since it is a two-tailed test, we are going for alpha by 2. So whatever alpha you obtain, we will divide by 2. So n-1 is 19, 20 minus 1, 19, and alpha is a 5%, 0.05 divided by 2, which is a 0.025. So here you might be in confusion that how to obtain this value, what to look for the obtaining this value. For that you need to go for t distribution, that's a t-test t table. So here I will show you the t table. So you can look into the t table. I will also tell you how to obtain critical value from t table. You must be very familiar with how to read the t table. That's a quite very important. Otherwise you cannot compare with the test statistics. Here this is a t distribution. I will make you familiar with the t distribution. How to read t distribution I will tell you. And one more thing, this is a upper tail probability, which means right tailed. These values, these are critical values for right tailed t-test, and this is a column. DF is a degree of freedom for sample size. In our case, we have our sample size as 20, and to find out degree of freedom, to see critical value, we have made n minus 1. So 20 minus 1, our degree of freedom in this case is 90. We have to look into the 19 degree of freedom in this column, and in this row you can see level of significance, different level of significance. So first is a 25% level of significance, that's a 0.25, and 20% level of significance 0.20, and 15%, 10%, 5%, 2.5%, 2%, and 1%. And most widely generally used degree of freedom, level of significance is 5% and 1%. So as I told you already, this is a right tiled critical values, and we are dealing with two tiled test. So this value is adjusted with while we are calculating alpha by 2, we have adjusted, since in the two tiled test rejection region will fall in the both side of the region. In the both side of the region, we have made alpha, our level of significance, by 2. So, and when we divide alpha by 2, which becomes one tiled test, and rejection region shared with both tile and both side of the distribution. So now which becomes a one tiled test. So for the adjusted alpha, that is alpha 0.025, when you see the critical values for 0.0525, which means 2.5%, which is adjusted for both side, and we can look into the right tiled or one tiled table also. Now let us obtain critical values for our 19 degree of freedom. As I told you, n minus 1, that is a 20 minus 1, our degree of freedom is 19, and in the 19 we have to look into the 0.025 level of significance, alpha in the upper tail probability distribution, that's a right tailed probability distribution, which is 2.093 for our 0.025 alpha. So critical values for this example is 2.093. Firstly, to obtain degree of freedom, we have made n minus 1, so 20 minus 1, 19. Here it is a degree of freedom, and we have made alpha by 2, so we have to see the 0.025. So our degree or level of critical value for this problem is 2.093. Then let us compare critical value with our test statistics so that we can come to a conclusion. In this graph, the red shaded area is a rejection region. So here it is a 0.025 from the right, for the right side, and 0.025 for the left side. Since our level of significance is 5%, which is shared in both sides, since it is a two tiled test. So which means that whatever our tested statistics will fall into this region, we will reject the null hypothesis. And here this red line is a critical value, that is critical value is 2.093. In the right side there is a positive critical value, even in the left side also minus 2.093 critical value for the left side. And then the unshaded area in this graph is a non-rejection region, which will be obtained by subtracting 1 by alpha. So our test statistics is 1.96, our critical value is 2.093. In this graph you can clearly see our tested value is lesser than critical value, which means which falls in the non-rejection region. So here, since our critical value, our tested value is a greater than critical value from the right side and lesser than critical value from the left side. That means calculated value of test statistics falls in the non-rejection region. Since it is falling in the non-rejection region, we do not reject the null hypothesis. That is, we support the manufacturer's claim at 5% level of significance. We can also take a decision using p-value also. For this statistics, our p-value is 0.0648 and our alpha is 0.50, and when we divide this by 2, our new adjusted alpha is 0.025. and even when you compare with alpha, when you compare p-value with alpha also, our p-value is greater than alpha, which means compared to 0.025, compared to 0.0648, our p-value is greater than alpha. Even by decision using p-value also, we will say we won't reject null hypothesis, we will accept the null hypothesis. So this is how we will test a hypothesis using t-test. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe to my Vision Academy YouTube channel.